It's Michaela, and I'm a middle school art teacher. Today I'm going to explain the importance of student ownership in a classroom and how to implement it. Student ownership describes the investment and responsibility that students have in their own learning. In this practice, students take an active role in their learning, often deciding what projects they want to do or what activities they participate in. Students are responsible for learning the content of the class, but by centering instruction around the learners, we are creating a positive classroom environment. As a result, students tend to have higher levels of motivation and overall success. In this video, I intend to show you how to set up your classroom, achieve active participation, and reinforce rules in a way that maintains this ideal classroom environment. When setting up in your classroom, students should be able to tell right from the get-go that there are high expectations of them. Students need to be explicitly taught where to get materials from, where to turn in their work, how to ask for help, and what they're able to do when they finish their work. In my classroom, students are taught that they can't use the material until I have taught them the correct way to use it. We talk about how everyone who walks into my classroom has joined our studio regardless if they even like art. My students have an active role in keeping our studio clean, keeping materials in good condition. As an exercise, students are given a drawing assignment, but I give them a slightly dead marker to draw with. When students get frustrated, we talk about how it sucks when the person before you didn't take care of the materials, and now you have to suffer the consequence of it. After our little game, we get to talk about rules and expectations. In a student-owned classroom, students often get to decide rules for their individual class. Classroom contracts are a fantastic tool to use to generate buy-in. Depending on the grade level, sometimes teachers need to implement their own rules, but it's still best practice to only have 5 to 7 rules per classroom to avoid any nuances. It's also good to have these rules posted in a place where everyone can see them. I have mine in the form of a poster in the front of my classroom with the general school-wide expectations posted nearby. One of my rules is to make good choices. I explain this to them as if you know you shouldn't be doing it or you don't want me to see you doing it, don't do it. We turn this into a little phrase in my classroom when students making a questionable choice or to reinforce rules without accusing a student of doing any wrongdoing. Active participation is what teachers dream of. We all want our students to be engaged and join in discussions, but you have to foster this environment. Offer different ways to engage. Let students get out of their seats and work with partners. Let students work in groups. Let students turn in handwritten discussion notes if they're too shy to present. Prioritize that growth over success. If a student gives a wrong answer, ask what got them to that point. Don't just tell them they're wrong and move on. Equally as important is to be an active participant yourself. Laugh with your students when they make a joke. Join in on the review game kits. Check in with groups during group work time. Students are going to feel more comfortable if they see that you are comfortable. To continue active participation, offering students a chance to give their own feedback is a great way to extend their learning, either with their own projects or within other groups. Giving students a chance to apply a rubric to a project or have a discussion on a topic, you are increasing their buy-in. In these types of settings, students should talk more than the teacher. In my classroom, we have art critiques. I post questions on the board and give 30 seconds of silent reflection before we pass around a talking stick to talk about our projects together. I intervene when the conversation goes off on a tangent or students are getting a little snippy, but I tend to stay on the conversations unless I'm invited in. One last example of how to get students to buy into that classroom is to give them jobs. I find students love having things that they are in charge of, and it keeps my classroom clean. I have 4 jobs in my classroom. I have 2 studio assistants that help me pass out papers and materials, a cleanup captain, and a studio manager that helps keep track of papers for students who are absent. I've also used different colored tabs for different seats to quickly assign jobs. I've used random name generators, and I've asked for volunteers in a pinch. Necessary procedure, unfortunately. You could have the most put together classroom with all the engaging projects, but kids are still going to be kids. In a student-owned classroom, it's extremely important to continue this mindset when intervening and redirecting a student. Punishment means nothing to a child who doesn't understand what they did wrong. It's important to offer students the chance to explain what happened from their point of view and explain why their actions were not appropriate in a school setting. I like to have my students take ownership in what their discipline looks like if I can, such as do they want a lunch detention or an after-school detention. themselves. You don't have to fight with students to want to learn the material when they know that they have a chance to be heard. More student ownership will give you more student success. Students thrive when they feel valued and seen, so let's give in a little and let the students help run the show. Thinking for yourself. Our class has just begun, but we have already talked about how important classroom management is. Marzano quotes that without effective classroom management, not much learning will take place. If students are disinterested, they will not learn anything. If students do not feel seen, they will not learn anything. So I leave you with these questions to ponder as we navigate this crazy world of education. What are the potential challenges we might face when trying to foster student ownership, and how can we overcome them? Do you think student ownership looks different in different age groups or subjects? What are examples of student-led projects that you have seen, and did they work well? I look forward to reading your responses. Bye!